the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of the earth to the other. Then he says, now learn the parable of this fig tree. He says, he was talking about the second coming of Jesus Christ, okay? And he says, but this fig tree is the parable that's going to happen before this stuff comes. You getting that? So he said, when Israel is young, bearing it's got some leaves on it, this fig tree, it's got some evidence that it's going to start bearing fruit. He says, this is a sign that I'm coming back. And it's a big sign. Now, having said all that, now this little paper I gave you is just a outline. I try to give you enough to where you can study it out yourself. That's what I try to do every time I print this out, that you can go home and just kind of relay in your mind what we talked about, and you can study this for yourself, okay? So watch this. Does anyone know when Israel became a nation?
1947.
No. 48. 1940, you guys were skating around the tree. 1948, Israel became a nation again. When did Israel go and cease from being a nation altogether? Does anyone know that? Read back in Kings. Remember when they split in half? Israel was no longer a nation. It'd be like our Civil War. The United States was split. There was the South and there was the North. Israel did the same thing back in the Old Testament. They split. There was the tribe of Israel and then the tribe of Judah. The tribe of Israel got taken away in 722 BC by the Assyrians. Judah in 586 BC got taken away by the Babylonians. So in 586 BC, Israel ceased from being a nation. They were taken away into captivity and other people filled their land. Israel is no longer a nation in the sight of men. Okay? But in 1948, Israel became a nation again. Now, when something becomes new, do you think it's young? Do you think it's young if something's new? Yes. Okay, I'll give you the right answer. It's yes. Do you think something, when it's new, is young? Woo! Got a tough crowd here today. Okay, now watch. If something is new, it's young. It says in that parable, you can kind of still see it on there because it's blackboard. It says the fig tree was Israel. The branch is tender. It's young. And he says, look, when it starts bearing some leaves, like it's getting ready to bear some fruit, he says that's a sign of my second coming. Now watch this. Israel used to be desert and desolation, nothing growing in it. Once Israel, 1948, took back the land that God had promised them in the 1948 war, and they become a nation again, you know it's one of the most fruitful places in the world again. It's most fruitful as far as the land's concerned. Okay? Now watch this. If this is what Jesus said to look for as far as the parable of the fig tree, he says, look deeper into this parable as far as the fig. Fig being Israel, it's young, it's tender, it's about to bear forth fruit. When he says this is happening, or you see this come to pass, you better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout. I'm telling you why. Jesus Christ is coming. Okay, never. But what? That's what he says. He says, watch, because this is coming. And here's the signs, not the time. He says, look for these things to happen, and then you better watch out, because he's coming back. But catch this. Is this Israel bearing fruit yet? No, it's just got some leaves on it. There's no fruit bearing. Okay? Who bears fruit for the Lord right now?
Christians.
Christians do. Christians are supposed to bear fruit for the Lord. How?
By witnessing.
Witnessing. When I go to someone and I say, hey man, do you know if you're going to heaven? Do you know for sure if you died today, you go to heaven? If you stood before God, how would you say? And they say, I have no idea. And you talk to them about Jesus Christ and how He died for us. He is the propitiation. He is the advocate. He is the payment for our sin. And they accept the Lord. That is the fruit that Christians need to bear. We have a lot of fruit in our Christianity, okay, that people think we ought to have. One of them is, and this does come out of us, but the fruit that we are supposed to bear as Christians is winning other people to Christ. Because guys, watch this. If you don't do it and I don't do it, no one else is. You're not going to go to an atheist down the street and say, hey man, when's the last time you led someone to the Lord? They're going to go, what? You know? So if that's the fruit we need to bear. That's how we add to the flock. And so watch. If that is the fruit of God, and God's waiting for Israel to bear fruit, it's not bearing it yet. He's got some leaves. They're showing some prosperity. What do you think Israel's got to do to start bearing some fruit? For God.
Witnessing?
Witnessing! Okay, guys. This is first grade stuff right here. This is simple, okay?
I didn't pass the first
witnessing.
grade.
Does Israel believe that Jesus is the Messiah? No, not at this point. But watch, this 7-year tribulation period that's going to happen, it's going to be 7 years, ready? What? 7-year tribulation period. Whoa, what happened?
You didn't notice that, Will.
What happened?
Hey, Will.
Hey, guys, what you doing? You going to come in for just a second?
Yeah.
Okay, have a seat. We're studying. Oh, here.
Oh, here.
Oh, my goodness, never scare me like that again.
We stood there for like 10 minutes.
Okay, 10 minutes? What were you doing out there? You could have been in here listening.
We were walking.
Okay. 7-year tribulation period between, if this is 2010, ready? The next significant event in prophecy is what we call the rapture. It's the taking away of Christians. When Christians leave the earth, who is going to be the witnesses for Jesus Christ? Study this out. Revelation chapter 7, it says there's going to be 144,000, guess it,
Jews.
Jews. So, they're going to start bearing fruit. Israel is. See, right now it's just poking out some leaves. They're not bearing fruit yet. But in the 7-year tribulation, when we're gone, so guys, watch. How close is a tree to bearing fruit once the leaves poke out? It's very close. It comes first. So Jesus said in this parable of the fig tree, when you see the fig tree start to put forth its tender, it's young again, when Israel becomes a nation and it's young, when it starts putting forth some leaves, he said, watch this. Look at verse number 34. 33. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, when you see it, know that it is near, even at the doors. Now watch this, 34. Very carefully. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. What kind of things? His second coming. He says, once you see this fig tree, which, what's the fig tree? Israel. Once you see this fig tree and it has a tender branch, that means it's young, it comes back. Do you realize there's a guy named Clarence Larkin that we study a lot, and he wrote his books in 1918. And in his book, some of the books he wrote, he said, before anything, Jesus could come back, Israel has to become a nation again. It has to become a nation. They weren't a nation back in 1918. 1948. They're a nation. They're a nation, guys. Now watch. Jesus said, when that Israel is back in the land, they're fruitful again. They got some fruit. Not any fruit of God yet, but they got some leaves. Okay? When that happens, he said,